working with walls for over 20 years. You've seen the boom, the bust, the boom rotate at least once in that order. And interestingly enough, I was chatting to Ian beforehand, and he was saying that Walls have worked on both the construction of the Point Depot, the music venue as it was, and more recently then as it became the Tree Arena. So Ian is the Communications and Industrial Relations Manager with Walls. He's going to speak for some time this morning, and then we'll have a Q&A session afterwards. So if you have any questions, if you want to save them until the end, we have time then. So ladies and gentlemen, lovely warm round of applause for our next speaker, Ian.
Thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. As the sign says, I'm Ian Barrett, so I work with Walls, as Ruth has said. Debbie is also here today, and Ursula. So Debbie is the HR manager, and Ursula works with Debbie in the HR department. So we're down there on the left-hand side. We've met with some of you I know already. So we're delighted to be here at the Jobs Expo today. Just to give you some background information on who Walls are. So Walls are 70 years in business. We kind of feel we're actually a local company because our original head office was in Glando Road, which is just off Griffith Avenue, which is about a drive and a 5-iron from where you are now. So we're very much a local company to Croke Park and to this part of Dublin. We have 250 employees working for us. They would be full-time employees. We subcontract nearly everything that we do. So we would have well over a couple of thousand people working on all of our sites if you add up the people on any given day, because we'd have at least 10 subcontractors for every directly employed worker. But our staff numbers have increased quite dramatically in the last few years. I'd say from probably 150 people 2 or 3 years ago to 250 now. So we're a Tier 1 building contractor. So the likes of Sisk and Hegarty's, John Paul, ourselves, have been around for many years. In most cases, they would be family-owned businesses, and in some cases going back 150 years or more. And Walls, likewise, was a family-owned business. PJ Walls set up the business 70 years ago. And then we had a management buyout in 2015. So just at the beginning of the current kind of improvement in the economy, the directors with some external investors bought the company, and really it's been very successful since then. Our turnover in 2018 was 190 million. Our turnover in 2015 was 85 million. So we more than doubled our turnover in 3 years. Our turnover this year will be 250 million. So again, an increase of 70 million on last year's turnover. So the indication there is that we're very busy. We hope you notice we're very busy because we have a lot of sites around the city, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about them in a few minutes. We have an office in Dublin and an office in Cork. Our Cork office looks after any work that would come up in the Munster region. The Dublin office looks after everything else, although most of the work at the moment is in Dublin. At least that's our experience. We have about 20 projects, and all of them would be really within 5 or 6 miles of where you are today. So the boom at the moment for Walls is very much a Dublin-based boom. So for all of you who are here and looking for work in Dublin, that's a good thing. That's our website address there, and likewise our email address if you're interested in sending your CV or contact details. Send them into careers@walls.ie. So just to tell you a little bit about what we do, having told you about who we are. So what we do is we're builders, so we build buildings. We're not a civil engineering company that we don't build roads and bridges and wastewater treatment plants, but we do employ a lot of civil engineers. Our managing director is a civil engineer. Most of the board of directors are civil engineers, but we build buildings, so it's structures. And some of the buildings we built are very well known, some are not so known. Some of the very well known buildings you mightn't make any money on, and some of the lesser known buildings you could do very well. But we put up some of the better known buildings here just for you today. If you've walked around the city in the last couple of weeks or the last couple of years, you might notice some of these buildings. So the new Central Bank of Ireland building in North Wall Quay, we finished in 2017, and that's an award-winning building. Really, it's won most architectural awards that were going. Likewise, LinkedIn's new headquarters just off Bagot Street very recently won an award in its category. So they're big, high-profile commercial office buildings, and the interiors and the fit-out of buildings like this is also very high spec. Just on Pearse Street, not too far from here as well, Trinity Biosciences, which is the biggest single building we've built in value terms, about 130 million euro 10 years ago now. And that's a biomedical facility and commercial office building adjacent to Trinity College. And then out in UCD, University College Dublin, on the south side of the city, that's the Student Learning, Leisure and Sports Centre. So it's a sports and leisure facility, including a 50-metre pool. Some of the other buildings we've built, we do fit out and refurbishment and redevelopment type projects. So the likes of Squarespace, Zendesk, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google, all of the American .com multinationals who are here, we've worked with most of them, AIB, Ervia, and so on. Then we do residential building, a big part of what we do as well. Unlike the last speaker, Glenn Vey, who would do mostly housing and apartments, we just focus on apartment type buildings. And often these are part of a mixed development, so it could be commercial, residential and retail in a single development. And a couple of examples there, the Maple, which is out in Beacon, which is Sandyford, Dublin 18, for people called Iris, who are one of the big property landlords in the country. And likewise Notre Dame, which is for park developments, which is in Dundrum, 265 units, about 65 million euro worth of value, and that job is just finishing in the next couple of months beside the Lewis station in Dundrum. And then Dublin Landings. So Dublin Landings is on North Wall Quay. It's adjacent to the Central Bank of Ireland. We've really built the whole block there. So it's Castleforbes Street, it's the river to the front, the River Liffey. Then you've Mirror Street behind, Wapping Street on the other side. So that whole block we've built, which is the Central Bank of Ireland and Dublin Landings. And this is a mixed-use development. So it's commercial office buildings, residential, retail, coffee shops, and so on. Charlemont Exchange is for a developer called Marlet. They're very well known, very successful developer here in Ireland at the moment. And that building is on Charlemont Street, which is close to the Barge Pub, South City Centre. Cardiff Lane, the other side of the river from Dublin Landings, opposite the Bordgosh Energy Theatre. Again, a mixed-use development, commercial and residential building. And then going across to the right, we do a lot of student accommodation. We have 6 separate student accommodation projects at the moment in Dublin alone. In fact, they're all within about 3 or 4 miles of each other. So we have student accommodation in Dominic Street, which is Dublin 1, the North Circular Road, Dublin 7, Rathdown Road, Dublin 7, for Little in Ballymun, Dublin 9 or 11, and then we have 2 projects in Cork Street, which is Dublin 8, both student accommodation. So that's a lot of what we're doing at the minute. The aggregate value of those projects is probably close to 200 million euro. So that's kind of what we do, and this is who we do it for. And we've just given you a cross section there of some of the clients we've worked with or we are working with. And currently, I mean, if you look at them, Live Nation was the 3 Arena who Ruth referred to earlier, or the O2 as it was then. We're working with Lidl in Ballymun, which is a large retail and student accommodation development. Marlet are up there as well on the left-hand side. We're doing a lot of work with them. Ballymore, which is the Dublin Landings development, we're doing a lot with them. And then we work with Ervia, and really a lot of companies. Ruth would be familiar with Today FM. We did their fit out in Diggs Lane a number of years ago as well. Maybe we'll do something for Radio Nova too sometime. So that's a cross section of some of the companies we work with. So big, and the biggest and the best really in their industries. I've just put up this slide to give you kind of sense. I know when Stephen was speaking the last time, he was trying to give you a sense of the culture of the company. And we kind of tried to encapsulate this or to summarize it in what we call the Walls Way. So this is our mission statement, our guiding principles, our core values. And really we have 5 of those. So the first of those is trust. So trust is a core value or a guiding principle for the company. So we work very hard to earn our clients' trust. We see that as very important. A lot of the work that we do for clients, we've been working with them for many years. So we did the original Point Depot, and then we did the new 3 Arena after that. And with a lot of companies, we've worked with them really going back decades at this stage. So we do that by keeping our promises. Walls would have a very good reputation with design teams. Design teams are architects, consulting engineers, and so on. The reason why is twofold as I see it. One, we're considered to be technically very strong. So we have a group of people who are highly qualified, and we kind of add a lot of value in terms of what might be complex, technically difficult engineering type projects. So they like us for that reason. We bring a lot of technical expertise, but they also like us because we're customer focused, we're solutions focused. We tend to try to find solutions and solve problems no matter how difficult the project might be. So ownership is another guiding principle for the company. So we like to say that we have a bias for action. So we're action-based. We take responsibility, as I said earlier, for solving our clients' problems. Our third guiding principle is that we're customer-focused, which I've touched on. We're approachable. It tends to be that design teams like to work with us. So there are very few large projects out there that are built that walls are not invited to tender or to pre-qualify for. We can't build them all, obviously, and we're sometimes selective, but there are some design teams, architectural firms that we like to work closely with, and they certainly like to work with us. Then our next guiding principle is agility or agile. So we like to think that we're flexible, we're passionate, we're innovative, and we like to make the complicated simple. And then last but not least, we're considerate. So we care certainly about our employees, and I'm going to go into that in a little more detail, but we're also concerned about the environment, the communities we work in. We do a lot of community social responsibility type work, particularly in this area, and I'm going to touch on one or two of those projects as well in a few minutes. So training and professional development is very important to us, and we put a list up there of the different institutes that we have relationships with. So if you look over to your right hand side, you can see Engineers Ireland, the Society of Chartered Surveyors, the Construction Industry Federation, the CIOB, which is the Chartered Institute of Building, and so on. We're an accredited company with Engineers Ireland for 11 years now, so we're one of the longest building contractors. We were the second building contractor to become accredited with Engineers Ireland, and all of our engineers who work for us, we encourage them to become chartered. I was in Engineers Ireland on Thursday night at a talk. I met one or two of the people I met here today. I met them on Thursday night as well. And yeah, we're very supportive of what Engineers Ireland do, and they support us as well. So if you're an engineer and you come and work with us, we will guarantee you 40 hours training a year. It's part of our commitment to Engineers Ireland that our engineers do 5 days training or 40 hours in a year. Likewise, if you're a quantity surveyor, I don't suspect there are many of you out there, but if you're out there, we'd love to meet you. But quantity surveyors, we encourage all of our QSs to become chartered with their institute, which is the Society of Chartered Surveyors. We use a consultant who comes in and gives one-to-one coaching in terms of helping you with your submission and ultimately your interview so that you might become chartered. And then all of these other institutes as well we work closely with. And what's behind this is our training and development policy. So there's a real commitment there to training and development for all of our staff. And these are some of the areas, obviously, that we cover. So we have seminars, and we use industry experts who come in. These could be breakfast seminars or lunch and learn seminars and so on. And they could be in health and safety, or they could be technical areas, commercial and otherwise. We have a further education program. So a number of our staff have gone on and done level 9, let's say, so postgraduate degrees in project management or contract law, health and safety and other areas. So we encourage by way of financial support and time off as well. So we're very third level focused and fourth level focused. A lot of our people have postgraduate degrees. As I said already, we have close linkages with professional bodies. We have a number of chartered programs, as I've already said. Knowledge sharing is very much part of what we do, so we have a number of lessons learned days during the year in our offices where we bring in our own staff, and over the course of a full day they would give examples of things that have gone very well or maybe things that didn't go so well on their jobs. And those kind of sessions would be maybe 30 minutes each, and we try and cover 8 of them in a day, question and answer sessions and so on. And multidisciplinary teams would come in and attend. Then we have a knowledge management system where a lot of this information is obviously put up on our document management system and people can access it and so on. And then we're big into innovation, so we have a competition every month where we give a prize to anyone who comes up with a new idea. So that's awarded every month to any member of staff with any idea which is innovative or creative. And then finally, the training and development is championed by a multidisciplinary training and development committee. One of the construction directors chairs the committee. It meets every month, and it's kind of evidence of our commitment to that whole area. So if you're a young engineer or an old engineer, or you're a quantity surveyor or a site manager or otherwise, and you're concerned for your training and development, come and work with Walls, because it's something we believe in. Just to touch on another area, I believe we're on the radio this morning. I've already been getting text messages because we had RTE out during the week. They did a piece for the business program they had this morning on our wellness activities in Walls, and particularly the photograph in the middle, the centre top there, which is, we had Pilates and yoga taking place this week and last week. I had to be carried out afterwards. But nevertheless, that's something we're doing. So this is part of our Wellness at Walls initiative, which we're taking very seriously. So some of the examples here, for example, on the bottom left-hand side, on Friday of last week, we had the Brewers Tea Day across the whole industry. And on 17 different sites, our senior management people, so the guy on the left-hand side there is a divisional director, they went to all of our sites, and for the Alzheimer's Association charity, we collected a lot of money from the staff for tea and cakes and what have you. And I'll get a plug in there for Lidl, because Lidl provided us with all of the food on that occasion. But we do a lot of other stuff around wellness as well, and work-life balance type initiatives. And these are just some other examples of photographs that have been taken. We're big into the social side of things as well. We work hard and we tend to play hard. We have Christmas kiddies parties and so on. The photograph up in the top right, they were playing hard, I think, those guys. I think that might have been after midnight, that particular one. But we do have fun in Walls. It's important to what we do. If I was kind of trying to describe to you the type of people who do well with us, and it's not unlike, again, what Stephen was talking about in the last presentation. First and foremost, we like people with a good work ethic. So we do work hard in Walls, and people who work with us tend to have a very good work ethic. We also like people who are innovative and creative. So we like people who like to solve problems rather than running away from problems. We like people who are good communicators. We very much depend on subcontractors to do everything we do. So your management role involves the management of subcontractors. So your ability to persuade and influence and encourage and bring them along with us is very important. So we do like good communicators as well. We also like people with a sense of humour. It goes a long way. So if you have a sense of humour, you don't have to have one, but if you have, it certainly helps. And then we like people who are ambitious. So we have a very long track record in the company of promoting from within. So our managing director, Eugene O'Shea, who's on the top left-hand side up there, Eugene joined as a graduate engineer in 1980 from UCD. Now, I was starting in UCD in 1980 when he was finishing. I was only 7. I was the youngest person ever to go to UCD. Not quite. But anyway, in 1980, Eugene has been with us now for 40 years, and he's progressed from a graduate engineer up to managing director in that time. Frank Kelly, the guy below him there, who's the construction director, he did his internship from Waterford Institute of Technology in 1991, graduated the following year and joined us. So he's 27 years with the company. And likewise, Damien, I put Damien up there. He's a senior surveyor. He's an electrician, so he's a trades qualified electrician who went back to Bolton Street and did quantity surveying. And he came in and he worked with us, and he's now the senior QS in the company and has progressed very well over the course of the last 10 to 15 years. Owen Redmond, the guy in the bottom left-hand side, he's the site manager in the Dublin Landings job not too far from here. And again, he joined as an undergraduate from WIT, then came back when he graduated, and he's with the company now for 15 years. And then on the other side, just to mix it up a little bit, these are newer staff. So we've the old people on the left. Ivana is Croatian site engineer. She's working on the Little Ballymun job. She's with us for less than a year. She's working out very well. So she's a civil engineer from Croatia. And Gareth is a project manager, but he's only with us for less than a year. He worked for 20 years or so with the Lagan Group. He's a dub, went to Bolton Street, 20 years in the north of Ireland, and then we kind of rescued him before Brexit hit. And he's doing very well for us, again on Dublin Landings, working with Owen. And Louise is a HSE, a senior HSE advisor, and she's with us again about 12 to 15 years. And Jan at the top, he was on RT News recently. He's a Malaysian site engineer. He graduated from WIT last year and has been with us a year, and he's a super guy and he's working out very well. Walls places a lot of emphasis on job security and loyalty. One of our claims to fame, which people don't believe, is during the downturn, so the collapse of the Celtic Tiger, we didn't really let any people go. We managed to hold on to all of our staff. Some people left voluntarily. They went to Australia and the UK and further afield. But the people who wanted to stay are still working with us today. And it means we have a very experienced group of managers. If you come and work with us and you go onto a job, the site manager, the project manager is very experienced. And I think that is very important. You're not going to be thrown in the deep end. You're not going to be working with people who are very new to the company and they don't know what they're doing. You're going to join a very experienced group of managers, no matter what job or what role you're performing. So what are we looking for then? I mean, our standard is down here on the left-hand side, but these are the different roles that we're trying to fill especially. Now, if you're good and you have a background in construction or you're interested in construction, we want you to write into us. But if you're a site engineer, site management, finishing four persons, quantity surveying, health, safety, environmental, or building services, they're the areas that we're particularly looking for people in. And they're the areas we've been hiring in for the last 18 months especially. Our site management numbers in a year have doubled, so we've gone from 10 to 20 site managers in the last 12 months alone. So again, if you haven't done so already, Debbie, myself and Ursula are down on the left-hand side, or else you can just email your CV in to us. And then just why you should come and work with us. So this photograph here was taken on the roof of the new Central Bank of Ireland building, the kind of topping out ceremony as such. But these are some of the reasons. Our relationships, and by that I mean our relationships with each other, but also with design teams, with clients. We're very well respected in our industry. We're 69 years in business, 70 years next year. The average length of service is my own length of service, 21 years. So we have people like the managing director who's there 40 years, and people who started probably this week. But the average length of service is 21 years. We're very committed to learning and development. So they would be some of the reasons why you should work with us. And just to say thank you finally, this photograph again is the top of the Central Bank looking back up the Liffey towards the city centre. And that was, I think, about early 2017. It was cold and wet, but we still look reasonably happy. It's amazing what a free lunch will do. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Ian. That speaks about the yoga and the Pilates. Honestly, did you ever think that you'd be hearing someone in a construction company talking about
Pilates
classes?
Yeah, it was a big shock to my system, certainly, which I haven't quite got over yet. But yeah, no, I mean, if somebody said to me even 3 or 4 years ago that we'd have Pilates and yoga classes and that the construction director and chief quantity surveyor would be there, I'd say you were gone mad. But, yeah.
It's great though, it just shows the difference in the industry now, and you're looking for so many people. It seems to be the trend now that you really, really are looking for numbers and for such a broad range of expertise and such.
Yeah, we're very confident that the boom, and it is a boom, that the boom that Ireland has experienced now is good to continue for another number of years at least. All the indicators are positive. So our turnover, to give you an idea, 190 million, 250 million this year. Next year we'd hope to get up to 300 million. So if you're going to increase your turnover by 20% year on year, you're going to increase your staff as well.
And you know what, even if there is another bust, as you said, you were able to hang on to all the staff that wanted to stay in the last one in Ireland.
Yeah, we were, and we're proud of that fact. And those who decided to go had no difficulty. I mean, we still follow some of our people on LinkedIn. A number of them went abroad and have come back to us. But those who didn't did very well for themselves. So if you work with us for a few years and then you decide to move back to where your home or otherwise, I think walls on your CV will do you no harm.